New secret patch builds for 11.2 and 11.2.5. Everything we know so far. Yes, so we are just on the cusp of 11.1.7, which means, yeah, the next patches are hitting the PTR soon. Let's see everything we know about the coming patches from Datamined Gaming.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and we got some massive updates for War Within on the horizon, as it looks like future internal builds such as patch 11.2, season 3 content, and even 11.2.5 get some new internal updates. So nothing we can currently preview, but it looks like they have been working on those patches for quite a decent bit of time.
Okay. Oh my god, why the fuck did it become huge like that? I don't know why it became huge, but I forgot to pause blurps, damn it.
3 could be massive in scope. Also, patch 11.17 finally got a release date, which is great. Not only because now we know when all the content of 11.17 will become accessible, but also it makes some room for us to start seeing new PTR updates for 11.2 and 11.2.5 specifically.
Right.
So in the very near future, we might actually be seeing some Season 3 content on PTR very, very shortly, which is extremely...
It's looking more and more like Season 3 is going to hit in August. Guys, I think we're going to get it. End of the summer, Season 3 will be hitting. I got to pull up the... what's it called? The roadmap again, 2025 roadmap for WoW. But everything's lining up right now that end of August, we should be getting the start of Season 2.
Exciting. For today's video, I really want to take a look at everything we know about patch 11.2 and
I mean, right now, technically, they have it lined up that way, right? Pulling it up right here. We can see it, yeah, 11.2, middle of the summer. They kind of have it middle of the summer. Now, technically, the summer starts on June 21st, but I think this is probably going to, I mean, could it hit in July? Could we get a July 11.2 release? Maybe. I guess if this lasts 6 weeks and we're getting this on June 17th, then yeah, it would be. That would kind of, yeah, that would put us end of July, right? Beginning of August, end of July. Probably, and then midnight, man, we're gonna get the reveal for that too. That's exciting.
But then so far, and while Blizzard doesn't give us like a proper PTR build for us to walk around and test on, we do have enough Datamined content as well as some lore walking that leads us into what patch 11.2 is likely going to be all about. As always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for War Within expansion or even future patches like 11.2, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So we know that patch 11.2, as well as even 11.2.5, has already gotten, or had for a while now, internal testing build. This isn't a PTR realm like a public test realm, it's more of a private test realm just for the devs. But it looks like they've been working on both of those for quite some time now, and it looks like 11.2 has been on works for quite a decent bit. In fact, we even know that patch 12.0 build has been in the works for quite a while. That is literally the next expansion of Midnight.
Yeah, that's
so
the
they've
Midnight
been working on this thing and be getting a build internally for some time. And it almost feels like they're ahead of schedule. They're taking a look at patches like 11.1.5, which actually was full of content. It was just kind of staggered out. 11.1.7 doesn't feel nearly as full. I think mostly it's just missing class changes that a lot of players really wanted to see. Though, as we are rounding towards the tail end of a new season, I highly doubt they'll be doing some massive reworks as well as introductions of brand new specs like they did back in Dragonflight with augmentation. So I think that was just kind of like a fluke for Dragonflight specifically. I don't think that is meant to set a standard for what they're going to be doing class change-wise in the future, but no crazy revamps for 11.1.7, which I think got some players bumped. Though hopefully we'll see more of that stuff in 11.2.
I mean, 11.1.7 feels like a lore patch for the most part. We're going to get those, you know, the Lorewalking Cho stuff. We're going to get the new quest line for the Arathi people going through that lore. It's mostly just a lore drop. That's what it is. And typically it feels like when we get the lore drop patch means there's going to be, that's the start of the next season. We're going to get all the new lore that's going to set up the next season. And really, because this next season is the final season of the War Within, it's setting up the next patch. It's setting up the War Within.
Now, out of everything we know so far of 11.2, we actually know quite a decent bit of what this patch is going to have based on WoW's 2025 roadmap, which doesn't necessarily detail a lot of things. However, some of the things found within patch 11.1.7, they are potentially going to be some really cool, likely ethereal-based changes. One of them being from the Infiltrator Shroud trait. You'll notice that the actual ethereal models have changed quite a decent bit. You can even just compare Locust Walker as well as this ethereal model. It is completely different. The thing is, too, they didn't really change ethereals anywhere else. No dungeon.
I wonder if this means a playable ethereals. I just feel like for them to redo the model completely like this, Something about it too reminds me of goblins. I don't know if this is like a stretched out goblin model or what, but just the way he holds his arms out to the side, I don't know what it is. But the new ethereal model to me makes me think maybe we get playable ethereals at some point.
No,
That'd be a big race
quest,
for the game.
no nothing. Only from the toy of the Infiltrator Shroud did Ethereals get a brand new model. This would be our very, very first clue as to what patch 11.2 could potentially be about.
Their running animation's amazing. The running animation for an ethereal is just S tier. I mean, look at that. You can literally be Sonic in the game. This is great. I wonder though, this would be like their sprint running animation. I highly doubt that if they're in fact playable, this is how they're going to run around everywhere. But my God, man, there would be such cool too. I imagine the racials and stuff they would get. Obviously, transmogging anywhere should be a racial for them, right? If you make an ethereal, you should have the ability to transmog at any time. That should be the #1 racial for them.
Could potentially be about, likely relating to ethereals as a returning NPCs, traders, enemies. Some players assume it may be even a playable option, though the models were now not really fully finished with some of the animations. They definitely did get a nice upgrade that makes them look highly detailed, and sometimes when they add a lot of detail to a brand new race, sometimes it becomes playable at some point in the future. Only time will tell. But the roadmap itself, back to the roadmap, we do know there's going to be new world events, so likely some sort of invasions or some sort of new world events within a brand new zone of patch 11.2. New dungeon, so think content such as Operation Floodgate, which was actually well received by the end of its run.
Yeah, Operation Floodgate was a great ad. Let me get rid of this. Operation Floodgate was a great ad. I thought it fits the theme of the entire expansion really well. It's pretty cool. I feel like to get a new dungeon in the rotation. So if we, in fact, it looks like we're gonna, it's already confirmed, we are getting a new dungeon for this season of Mythic Plus. This is going to be season 3 of Mythic Plus for this expansion. I can't wait to see. I hope they give us some ethereal dungeon, man. Some really cool, like, go back time, maybe Caverns of Time, Koresh, visiting Koresh dungeon. Man, that'd be amazing. Go back to their planet, run a dungeon, see how the world ends for Koresh and all that. It would be really cool.
Getting a new raid, as well as seasonal upgrades, as well as PvP changes and gear. So all of those things are expected. However, the map also does feature new world challenges. So possibly hard content in the open world, as well as a little note there with a seasonal rewards refresh, whatever it may be. As for the patch 11.2, I think a lot of players are expecting this to be a big ethereal patch, which I think it could be anything else, honestly. We also have root lands potentially with those roots that
I'm not gonna lie, if they just go full Horanir on us right now and they take us to the root lands with these, like, you know, night elf troll people, I'm gonna be extremely disappointed. If that's what the entire patch is, and instead of going cosmic with the ethereals, we just go deeper into the ground and do more old god rootland shit. Yeah, I won't be happy about that.
All the way up in Ashkahead that does kick you out.
I think I'm done with the underground shit for a little
maps
bit.
From way back in the day that do detail rootlands as a zone, as well as there's a big crystal in Hollowfall, which potentially could be a zone of its own. I mean, the idea of it is it would be a massive crystal. A lot of players have been wondering if we would ever be able to travel inside of it and potentially have that as maybe be a zone for us to go for it.
There are pieces of art that we've looked at before on stream with the staircase going up to inside the crystal. I think if we do get that staircase that ascends into the crystal, we can go inside of it. I'm betting that's going to be a raid. That'll probably be the final raid of this expansion. Going inside of the crystal, we fight Zalateth finally, and we lose. And then bam, midnight kicks off. Crystal goes full void, something happens, and we're into the next expansion.
The next patch update. But we also have had Ethereal Raid data mined a long time ago with a bunch of Ethereal based items. So those were data mined around the same time we data mined a Goblin Raid. And Goblin Raid turned out to be Liberation of Undermine. So if that information in that same data mining linked us to Undermine, it potentially could link us to an Ethereal focused raid, possibly on the home planet of Koresh. I guess also we shouldn't forget the Liberation of Undermine and cutscene with literally an ethereal holding the Dark Heart, standing on the precipice of what looks like their destroyed home world, just consumed by void completely. So it makes sense for us to potentially chase after this ethereal because the Dark Heart as a relic is kind of important in the current lore. Also, speaking of lore, patch 11.17 is introducing a new feature of Lorewalking, and from here I am going to do a pretty big spoiler for one of those Lorewalking quest lines. So if you're not a big fan of this being spoiled, now might be a good idea to give the video a like and then go watch something else. As a lore walking is actually kind of exciting content that really allows you to play through WoW's lore, where normally you have to read books or watch cutscenes or keep up with every expansion. But if you just want to catch up on some lore, it actually does it in a very awesome bite-sized way and gives you fun rewards like toys as well as a couple of different cosmetics for you to obtain. But if you're fine with spoilers as to how the lore walking likely leads into 11.2 being an Ethereal patch, it's actually really cool what they've done with it. Lorewalking right now has a couple of different stories. One on Arthas, how he turned to Lich King, which is pretty standard.
Amazing.
One on the backgrounds of Xal'atath, which I don't really want to spoil too much, but she is the harbinger of a Void Lord that's very related to the third storyline that is focused on...
Give me my elf half-breeds. The Rootlands crystal and the crystal could be a pre-patch. Could be. Yeah, we are going to get some kind of pre-patch story heading into midnight. So, I mean, yeah, you could have maybe Rootlands, something happens, Crystal opens up. Sure, but I just don't want an entire patch right now on and season based on the Rootlands. It's not as exciting to me as the Ethereal patch would be.
Ethereals themselves are a very enigmatic people, not really known about them, but we do know that they're broken up into multiple cartels after their homeworld was destroyed. There's the Consortium, which are essentially vendors and traders. These are the type of Ethereals we get to interact with in a majority of ways as vendors. Then we have the Ethereum, which are more radicalized militant group, often the bad guys, driven to destroy the Void as well as everybody else in their way to avenge the homeworld, as well as Protectorate, who attempt to thwart the Void, but also protect others against the Ethereum. Usually are the good guys, or at least non-officially bad guys, or not hostile to the player character in most cases. As well as another faction of the Ethereals called a Shadow Guard, which have tapped into the Void energies in order to try to see if they can harness them. Many people believe that they're probably related to Ethereum, but most of the ones that do touch into the shadows do end up falling for the call of the Void.
Right.
The only one that doesn't really do that is Locust Walker, who is part of the Shadow Guard, utilizing the Void in order to power himself up.
Yeah, the Ethereals are just like any other race, very susceptible to corruption and everything else, and there's the few that can resist it. Yeah, Locust Walker is one of them for them. And we're going to see, I think, more Void-bound Ethereals, like Ethereals that have fallen to the Void, most certainly. That could be what the entire raid is about when we fight Xal'atath. We could have a lot of Ethereal mobs that have fallen completely to the Void. But we'll see how that works out. Locust Walker himself, though, he's really cool, and I'm excited to see more lore about him and how he resisted the Void. We're probably going to get into that with the Lore Walker Cho stuff.
Many of the Shadow Guards are not really able to, and they're essentially servants of the Void. However, it seems that there's actually a lot more Ethereals in the world that we know outside of these main cartels or these main factions. Part of the lore walk actually explores a connection between the Ethereals and links them to the brokers of Shadowlands. And when you take a look at them, they actually are very similar in terms of both are built off of energy and embodies either clothing or armor, very similar to how Ethereals embody bandages, and very similar to the Ethereals. Brokers.
Well, the Ethereals did it out of necessity. I think these guys, the brokers, always looked like this. They're they're like little flame boys and wrapped up in armor. But the Ethereals were just like regular people, just like the characters we play in the game. They were flesh and blood, or maybe not flesh. Maybe they hadn't been affected by the old gods, but they were living humanoids. And then once the Void came and destroyed their planet, that's when they had to use magic to basically hold their being together. So maybe they learned that magic from these guys. I think we get into that with the quest here. He's kind of mentioning some of the stuff that happens in the quest. But yeah, the Ethereals look the way they do because of what happens. And these guys have always looked this way.
Have many different cartels. A lot more of them. It's outside of just Ethereum Protectorate as well as Consortium. The Lore Walking questline also continues with us doing a small favor for an old friend, Venari, also another broker that's hiding out in the Maw. A good friend that actually helped us get established in the initially inhospitable zone way back in
Yeah, they both have caste systems. You are right. Yeah, the concept of caste systems, those are both energy brings the caste system in. Yeah, I mean, they're related in some way, and I guess we're learning a lot about it through this quest. Sort of like the bird people.
But it turns out that as you do the quest line, Locust Walker and Venari actually know each other. And there's even a voice line where it links them to potentially have arrived from the same world, home world of Koresh. So it seems the brokers and Ethereals might actually be one and the same, though using the armor as well as bandages and embodying the energies differently. Part of the World Soul Saga, as the whole saga for 3 expansions, is to find all the different little lore bits that multiple expansions have created and find a way to wrap them together in a nice little bow. So it's interesting that they're putting Brokers and the Ethereals as like one and the same. Both of them are Koreshi, they're from the world of Koresh. Why did Brokers split off and go to Shadowlands? How do they even travel to the realm of Afterlife?
Oh, so the quest confirms they're both from the same planet. Damn, that is kind of a spoiler. But I guess we'll play through it still and see, hear the voice lines and see it all in detail.
This is just a thing they can do anytime they want to. Why did the Ethereals decide to splinter off and continue the fight on their world against the Void? And how are the 2 characters of Inari, as well as Locust Walker, are potentially going to be integral in us going back to Koresh at some point, chasing after the Ethereal with a dark heart? I think there's enough cool lore stuff for players to get interested in, but then from there you can kind of build up.
Yeah, you're comparing the Night Elves to the Withered of Nighthold, the Elven. But what my question is are they 2 different races from the same planet, or are they trying to tell us that this is what Ethereals originally looked like and this is what they looked like post, Void Explosion, Demancius arriving? I feel like they're 2 different races from the same planet. And that's that's we're gonna get confirmation of that in this little quest line here.
Off from there, if let's say we were to go to Koresh as
same
a
race,
zone
call it the
for us
same
to
race.
explore, how would we be able to explore it? Would it be very similar to like this broken apart islands like we had in Argus, which would be really, really cool? What type of environment would we have? Or better yet, what type of enemies would we be able to fight, or collectibles would be able to earn? Just think of how many players will be excited to earn like ethereal-based transmog and items and weapons and mounts that are very ethereal focused, very void, very purple. I think there's a lot of potential there that could get a lot of players excited. All in all, I think all signs point to patch 11.2 being an ethereal themed patch. However, that is not confirmed by any measure. It is something that we'll see and know more about once 11.15 comes out, which is actually arriving very, very soon. And once that arrives, we'll get a lot more information about 11.2. But for now, this is everything that we have so far, at least regarding 11.2. The breadcrumbs, ethereals, Lorewalking, and everything we know so far from data mining and all the other information. And I cannot wait to see more updates regarding 11.2, and cannot wait to be back here making another update on future patches like those in the future. But with that, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Also, join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with any future updates like 11.2, especially when it comes out to PTR. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of discussions over in the community. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Yeah, we'll see. I still question whether or not these were the same race. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you already played on the PTR and you already know the answer to this question. We'll see when it goes through, or whether or not they're just 2 races from the same planet, because I didn't think Ethereals were these energy-bound beings before the explosion happened and everything else. But we'll find out more about it, more about their origins and everything. It is cool, though, that we found out that the Brokers and the Ethereals do, in fact, have relations, at least. We do know that. Didn't play, just a matter of adaptability. Okay, we'll see, I guess. I'm sick of elves and dwarves. Well, Jones, I hate to break it to you, but the Midnight expansion is being, like, subtitled as the Elven expansion. It's going to be all about elves. I don't know if we're going to get... I still feel like we're going to get playable Harnir. I mean, they're just such an easy thing for Blizzard to implement because they're literally just Night Elf skeletons. But I think the people would much rather have playable Ethereals. Nice video from Dalaran Gaming.